John grew up feeling deeply hurt and abandoned. As a young child, he thought his mother had left him. It all started one night, when he was just a little boy. His mother went to serve his father food. His father usually comes home late into the night, and it was usual for his mother to stay up and wait for him. That particular night, John fell asleep on his bed, expecting his mother to come back. But she never did. When he woke up the next morning, he found the house empty. John's eyes slowly opened to an empty room. He rubbed the sleep from his eyes, expecting to see his mother's warm smile. But she wasn't there, Mom. He called out, his small voice shaking. Silence, everywhere was silence. He jumped out of bed and ran to the kitchen, thinking maybe she was making breakfast. But the kitchen was empty too, Mom. He shouted louder, still, no answer. John's heart began to beat faster. Where could she be? He checked the living room, the backyard, the bathroom. But there was no sign of his mother. Days turned into weeks and weeks into years without any sign of his mother. John believed his mother had abandoned him. Years ago, John's father, Mr. Thompson, had a daily routine that revolved around alcohol. Every day, without fail, he would leave the house in the late afternoon, heading straight to the local bar. For Mr. Thompson, the bar was more than just a place to drink. It was a sanctuary where he could escape from responsibilities. His drinking habit started as a social activity. In his younger days, Mr. Thompson enjoyed going out with friends for a drink. However, over time, his drinking became more frequent and excessive. What began as an occasional indulgence turned into a daily necessity. Each day, Thompson would set off for the bar. He'd often walk with a slight stagger, a sign of the day's drinking. And his clothes would be a bit disheveled. His departure would be met with a mix of resignation and relief by his family. They knew what to expect. A quiet evening at home, followed by his late return, often stumbling and mumbling. Thompson ruled his household with an iron fist, never tolerating dissent or questions. His wife, Elizabeth, walked on eggshells around him, fearful of triggering his infamous temper. Their marriage had begun lovingly, but over time, Mr. Thompson's aggression and dominance had slowly suffocated Elizabeth's voice. She felt trapped, unable to express her thoughts or feelings without facing beatings upon beatings upon beatings. Elizabeth had lost count of the nights she had waited up for Mr. Thompson, her heart heavy with worry and resentment. His drinking habit and womanizing had become a norm, leaving her feeling like a ghost in her own home. One fateful night, as she heard the door creak open, Elizabeth steeled herself. She couldn't remain silent anymore. Each time he returned, drunk and brash, she maintained a facade of composure, even as resentment simmered beneath the surface. But the weight of his behavior pressed down on her, and she knew that silence was no longer an option. One fateful evening, after he staggered in with the smell of cigarettes and cheap alcohol, she felt an unfamiliar courage swell within her. She had spent countless nights worrying about the dangers he faced out there, muggers, accidents, the risk of losing his life. Tonight, she would speak up. It's dangerous out there, especially at night. I worry about you. He paused, caught off guard by her unexpected confrontation. The usual swagger was replaced by a flicker of annoyance. You think you're my mother? You think I can't take care of myself? What if something happens? She asked. You're not invisible. How dare you question me? Mr. Thompson's voice dropped to a menacing whisper, sending shivers down Elizabeth's spine. "You're nothing but a timid, insignificant wife. No one else would tolerate me except you." Elizabeth stood frozen, paralyzed by the venom in his voice. She felt like she was staring into the abyss, with no safety net to catch her if she fell. The realization hit her like a ton of bricks. She had been living with a stranger, a monster. Thompson started his usually beating and hitting Elizabeth's head on the wall. "How dare you question my whereabouts in my own house?" It wasn't new to Elizabeth, as he does beat her anytime she tries to talk to him or even defend herself, but this time, it was different. Thompson hit her head so hard on the wall, and she took her last breath. When Thompson discovered she wasn't breathing anymore, he took a shovel, digged a shallow grave at the backyard and buried her silently, in middle of the night. When John saw his father watching television in the sitting room that morning, when he was searching everywhere for his mother, he waved him to come to him, though John was surprised because his father was never close to him. He always feared him and doesn't go close to him. But that morning, Thompson held him close to himself and said, "Your mother has ran away from the house, in the middle of the night." John's heart raced as he processed his father's words. He had never seen his father this vulnerable, nor had he ever felt the warmth of his father's embrace. The news of his mother's departure struck him like a cold wave, leaving him momentarily speechless. "Dad, what do you mean she ran away?" John asked. Thompson pulled back slightly, looking into John's eyes, searching for understanding. "I don't know the details, son. She left a note. She said she needed to find herself. Whatever that means. It's just you and me now." John felt a mix of confusion and resentment. The absence of his mother felt like a chasm opening beneath him. "Why didn't you stop her?" he blurted out, his voice rising. John's childhood was marked by a profound sense of betrayal. His mother, the only woman he had ever truly trusted, seemed to have vanished from his life without explanation. Growing up in the shadow of that loss, he developed a deep-seated resentment towards women. Each time he encountered a woman, he couldn't help but see his mother in her. The warmth of a smile or the kindness of a gesture only reminded him of the abandonment he felt, twisting those feelings into bitterness. His friends often tried to introduce him to women, hoping to coax him out of his shell. "You just need to meet the right person," they'd say. But for John, every attempt felt like a betrayal. He imagined that they were trying to push him towards more heartache. And he would decline with a curt shake of his head. In school, while his friends laughed and dated, John withdrew further into himself. He filled his days with video games and isolation, convinced that any woman could mirror his mother's betrayal. Each time he heard a story about a woman leaving or being unfaithful, it reinforced his beliefs, feeding his growing resentment. Yet, unbeknownst to him, his mother had not abandoned him. She had died, in the hands of his father, in a tragic way. He rejected intimacy and warmth, convinced that opening up would only lead to more pain. The few women he did meet, colleagues, acquaintances, were met with coldness. He brushed off any hint of affection, seeing it as a potential trap. It wasn't until a new colleague, Sarah, joined the office that John's world began to shift. She was different, her laughter was genuine, and her kindness seemed unforced. For the first time, John felt a flicker of interest. But just as quickly, he buried it beneath layers of doubt. He often caught himself imagining her as another potential source of betrayal, convincing himself that she would inevitably disappoint him. But Sarah was persistent, genuinely trying to connect with him. She would share stories, invite him to lunch, and slowly, John found himself intrigued despite himself. His walls, built over years of pain, began to show cracks. As they spent more time together, he realized he was fighting an internal battle, wrestling with feelings that had long been buried. One evening, as they shared a quiet moment after work, Sarah spoke softly about family, and John's heart clenched at the mention of mothers. It was then that he felt the weight of his own misconceptions. Could he really see past his mother's absence and recognize Sarah as her own person? John was deeply asleep when he sensed a strange presence in his room. A soft whisper filled the air, urging him to go to the backyard behind the banana tree and dig in the ground. He felt a chill run down his spine, but thought it was just a dream. He turned over in bed, dismissing the voice as part of his slumber. The moonlight spilled into his room, casting familiar shadows, and he sank deeper into his pillows, feeling safe and warm. In the morning, he woke up, the memory of the whisper fading away. He brushed it off as a strange dream, not thinking much of it. But as he went about his day, the thought lingered in the back of his mind, a nagging curiosity he couldn't shake. What if there was something more to it? For now, he chose to ignore it, believing that dreams were just that, dreams. But the memory of the whisper stayed with him, hinting that perhaps the night was not done with him yet. A few nights later, John found himself in a deep sleep again when the same whisper returned, calling to him from the shadows. The voice was clear and insistent, urging him to go to the backyard behind the banana tree and dig in the ground once more. This time, however, the fear and curiosity stirred something in him. When morning came, John couldn't shake off the encounter. He decided to share the experience with his friend Mark over coffee. "Last night, I had this weird dream," John began, hesitating as he recounted the whisper and the same message. Mark listened intently, eyebrows raised. "Maybe it's trying to tell you something important," Mark suggested. "You should go check it out." What if there's something buried there? John thought about it, feeling a mix of skepticism and intrigue. It could just be a dream. But it felt so real. Mark leaned forward. "You won't know until you try. It might be a chance to uncover something interesting." That evening, after his discussion with Mark, John felt a sense of urgency. He couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to dig behind the banana tree. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the yard, he grabbed the shovel and made his way outside. His friend Mark was with him. With each scoop of dirt, John's heart raced. He remembered the whisper and the strange pull to this spot. He dug steadily, not expecting much, but his determination grew. Suddenly, the shovel struck something. John paused, his breath hitching. He cleared the dirt away with his hands, and as he revealed the shape beneath the surface, a chill ran down his spine. It was a human skeleton. John stumbled back, shock washing over him. His mind raced. This couldn't be real. He stared at the remains, recognizing the familiar outline of a small bracelet on the skeletal wrist. It was his mother's. Memories flooded back, and he felt an overwhelming wave of emotions. Mark, who had been watching, rushed over. "What did you find?" he asked, but as he approached, he saw the horror in John's eyes. It's my mom," John stammered, tears welling up. "She's been here all this time." Mark's face turned pale. Are you sure? John knelt beside the skeleton, shaking. The spirit's whispers now made sense. It had guided him to uncover a truth his father had long buried.